Today, I'm thrilled to be joined with the co-founder and CEO of the Classic Learning Test. His name is Jeremy Tate. Jeremy is a nationally recognized leader in the classic learning movement of K through 12 education. Tell us first about the Classic Learning Test, or CLT, that is different, and what made you decide that an alternative to the standard SAT, ACT tests was needed in the first place, because this certainly could not have been an easy feat. How is it different?
Rebecca, I appreciate that. And I think all of us know that there's something critically wrong. I'd say there is a crisis right now in mainstream American education, and it may seem a bit odd to start with a test. Typically, we think of tests as evaluative tools, and most people think the SAT, I took that, my grandpa took that, that test doesn't ever change. Well, the reality is that the SAT, the only thing that hasn't changed on the SAT is the name SAT. It used to be a test that I think was free from any kind of ideological bias, pushing any kind of ideology on young people. It used to be an aptitude test, actually. For generations it was. No longer. It is now a Common Core aligned assessment for public school students. But what's more concerning about that is it has increasingly become a test that is used to push ideology in a very subtle way. Students think they're just taking a test, but really what is being pushed are many ideas that are very new, very fringe, and certainly ideas that I think your audience didn't grow up with and would not be on board with.
Why is it so vital that state colleges and universities accept CLT in fairness to non-public school students?
Sure. We think of tests as evaluative tools. At CLT, we also believe that they're also pedagogical tools. Tests teach. They convey to students what is and what isn't important. And even more than that, tests end up driving curriculum. And so if teachers, if school districts understand that on the most important, most high stakes test they're ever going to take, if students are going to be needing to read John Locke, Ben Franklin, Frederick Douglass, these kinds of texts, that's going to then impact what they're teaching in the classroom. Instead, it's going to kind of force them to get away from a lot of this very new ideological stuff and instead return to America's founding documents, which really, I mean, we're one of the areas that we're seeing this really hit the road right now, Rebecca, is in terms of citizenship knowledge, civic knowledge, actually. Right now, and this came out from just a few years ago from NBC of all places, but they discovered from their own surveying that only about a fourth of people under 45 can now pass a US citizenship test. And what is especially concerning about that is that that is also the demographic under 45 that has the most formal education. Now, if you flip that and you look at the demographic that's older than 65, they pass the US citizenship test at a rate of 81%. So this is a night and day difference. We go from a pass rate of 26% for those under 45 to a pass rate of 81% to those over 65. So what changed? And what changes is mainstream American education. Students now are graduating with very little content knowledge about US history, US government. They're getting a lot of ideological persuasion that the founding of America was fundamentally racist. We've heard all about critical race theory and what is being pushed, and that is absolutely the case. So we wanted to introduce a test that would introduce a new standard for academic excellence. If a young person is well educated, they're going to be able to read the kinds of texts, the Federalist Papers, the U.S. Constitution of America's that are foundational to the great American experiment in self-government. I think this is our hope. We have to return to this kind of education. Truly, 100% of our founders received a classical education. And one of the ways that I want to try to articulate the difference is that a classical education is fundamentally oriented towards the formation of the whole person, the cultivation of virtue in the traditional sense, right? In terms of responsibility, self-control. These were the virtues that for centuries, for millennia, they were going after in this thing that we call education. This has all been removed. This traditional idea of cultivating character and hard work and a good moral compass, it's been replaced by really this victimhood, oppression mentality, which is very much part of CRT. So, we're looking to kind of lock arms with people who want to put an end to this and reclaim a great American education.
Are colleges accepting this alternative testing, CLT over an SAT or ACT? How does that all work?
Yeah, more than 200 colleges have already adopted CLT. Many colleges now, such as Ave Maria in Florida, as a preferred college entrance exam. Of course, Hillsdale was one of the first big names to read about CLT, to discover it, and to be an early adopter. In fact, when Hillsdale adopted, there was a whole slew of colleges that followed their lead. And one of the reasons that the colleges like CLT so much is that it also allows them to connect to a different kind of student. Right now, about 88% of our students are coming from a classical Christian school or a charter school. 40% of them are homeschooled. So 88% are coming from outside of the conventional public school system. And I want to be careful there. I don't want to bash the conventional public school system. I think there are a lot of great families there. There are a lot of great teachers there as well. But something radical has changed just in the past couple of decades. And I think more and more reasonable families are saying we can't, in good conscience, allow our sons and daughters to be formed in an environment with this kind of ideology being pushed.
What do you think that average people should be doing to help amplify your voice, our voice, the voice of our members? How can people make a difference?
I think sometimes as conservatives, we can err at times on not being nuanced. It is absolutely the case that America's founders. I just did a tour of the state capitol here, and it was like every room we visited, Rebecca, they wanted to apologize for and make the case that all of these men were racist and had slaves and all of this. That's part of America's history. But I want to make the point here that Martin Luther King, what he did was he did not undermine America's founding. What he did was appeal to America's founding and made the case that the seeds for freedom were embedded in our founding documents. I mean, America is the greatest nation, it really in the history of the world. We have in this model for self-government has given freedom to so many. So a good American education is not going to whitewash our sins, but a young person should graduate high school with a sense of gratitude for what they are inheriting rather than a sense of victimization. And so I think what we need to do is we need to support these initiatives, support the work of places like Hillsdale College that are fighting the good fight. And it takes all of us, rolling up our sleeves and saying, we're going to be present, local school board meetings, and we're going to, and we're already seeing this happening. I mean, there is a tremendous, in some ways, during COVID, they went a little too fast, right, in terms of pushing a lot of this CRT and ideology, and they woke a sleeping giant. Parents and grandparents woke up and they said, no way, not on my watch. And so there's reason to be optimistic here as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. Very well said. Thank you so much for your time with us today. I have a final question for you. As we head into the new year, what hope do you have for America's future?
I spent a lot of time within what's called the classical renewal movement. There is an explosion right now happening of classical charter schools, of classical Christian schools, of Catholic schools who became too much like the public schools, and now they are re-embracing their Catholic identity, embracing a classical curriculum, returning to daily mass and the sacraments. Homeschooling is exploding. In 1973, there were 13,000 homeschoolers in America. Right now, it's well over 5 million. And this is across demographics. It's actually Black families are leading the way with 16% of all Black families now are homeschooling. And the biggest achievement gap in American education is actually between Black homeschooling families and Black public school students, right? Where on reading comprehension, the gap is over 40%. It's absolutely staggering. And so people have woken up, parents have woken up, grandparents have woken up, and there are new options. Politicians are starting to respond. Even on the left, more and more are opening up to school choice. School choice is polling well over 70%, especially in minority communities that say, hey, we want to go to the great Catholic school down the road. We want to go to the great Christian school down the road. As dark as things may seem right now, I do believe the future is bright.
Very good news. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Any resources that you'd like to share with our listeners before we let you run on CLT? How can they get more information on that test and how it all works?
Yeah, the website, again, is cltexam.com. We work closely with schools like Hillsdale College, Grove City, Ave Maria, Christendom, Franciscan, Thomas Aquinas, Wheaton College. So check out the website. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Tate 41. Rebecca, thanks a ton for the invite. It's great to connect and chat with you today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you with us. The CLT system that you chartered is going to do wonders for our country's education, and we here at AMAC appreciate everything that you've worked for and achieved. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. And I want to thank each and every one of you out there listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can listen to more just like it. Head to our YouTube channel or visit us at bfapodcast.us, and you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, or by downloading our free AMAC News app. And don't forget to follow us wherever you are on social media. Until next time, I'm Rebecca Weber. This is your podcast, Better for America. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.